Recently, I had the amazing privilege of chatting with one of the lucky 10 reservation holders named Bruce, who spent 2 days at the Rivian plant in Normal, test driving the truck, chatting with the Rivian crew, touring the plant, generally geeking out like any of us would. It seems that Bruce is becoming a bit of a celebrity to us Rivian fans, and you'll see why. Not only is he amazingly kind and friendly, even graciously indulging my daughter's eagerness to show off her crafts, but as a car aficionado and an all-around smart and observant guy, Bruce is very articulate and has some keen insights into what future Rivian owners can expect with the R1T. He was also kind enough to take a couple of questions from my two kids, which we'll get to in a later segment. But I wanted to start with this segment. We talk about something that's been on my mind for a while, whether or not I should wait for the 400-mile battery pack or stick with the 300-mile pack if it gets here sooner. Bruce had some thoughts on that, the charging network, and range in general. So here's part one of my interview with Bruce. I have been waffling between waiting for the 400 or taking the 300. I'm leaning just get whatever they've got, right? Get the thing that comes to me first. Right. But if the 400 were an option, would that be something you would consider, or do you care?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to go that route. Part of it is the extra weight, and it's. I'm sure there are times, and I know there are people that just repeat over and over that mantra is range is king, and I get that. But as RJ mentioned very early in the process, as gas stations become more and more, the charging stations become more ubiquitous. They're everywhere. They're never likely, well, at some point they will replace gas pumps. We know that somewhere down the road that'll happen. In the meantime, as the infrastructure fills in, and where you might have 20 gas stations in a small town, which probably is not that uncommon, you may only have one charging center. But as long as we fill that map in so we can easily cross any portion of the countryside, once they do fill into that point, well, we're going to be fine. We have a lot of spots out here in the West where there are some large gaps, but even playing with all of the apps that are out there for charging, I can get anywhere I want to get. It's just I'd like to be able to have some options to top it off here and there before going off-road and doing some exploring. But those will fill in, and RJ said, even with the Adventure Network, we know we're going to have more and more state parks and places like that where they'll partner, like they have in Colorado, in your state, and also in Tennessee.
Oh, yep.
To partner with the state parks. But it's the DC fast charge stuff that we're all going to rely on for longer trips. You know, the slow fill isn't going to work, but those will fill in.
Yeah.
In the early days, it might be nice to have a 400-mile range, but on the trips that I've looked at, I think I'll be able to do it with the 300. And I just as soon, first of all, not spend the extra money if I don't need to, but I also think it's going to be I felt pretty sporty in this thing. I don't know if an extra 300, it's only maybe a 5% weight gain, but if I don't have to carry the weight, I'd rather not.
Yeah. Well, I wish there was a way to do both, like to have the 300 in the truck and then have an extra 100 throw on the back when you want to go on a long trip. I'm sure that we've seen patents that Rivian has made that are, leaked out about like a toolbox kind of thing that's, would get a range extender. And I think that could be in the future, which would be amazing. I don't know how long in the future that will be, or even if there are aftermarket folks that are going to make batteries and that you can just connect in somehow. And I'm hoping that Rivian provides a way to do that, because it would be a shame if they didn't.
I agree. I honestly, I don't think I have a hunch we probably won't see them with the first generation.
Yeah.
In that it didn't look to be configured that way in the bed, and with the tonneau cover, the closing on there, it's not. I doubt it'll be anything that sits up high. They may, but and if they do, that's great. But I feel comfortable with the 300-mile range. I fully understand those people who want the 400 because of the range anxiety, the places they're going, and the desire to tow.
Well, here's the equation that goes through my head. So there's a stretch of road between Grand Junction, Colorado, and southern Utah, where my family has a cabin. And there are only 2 or 3 stops in that stretch. But if I'm pulling a trailer, then it's gonna be a white knuckle drive, and there's nothing in between those 2 towns, right?
Right.
And there are a few places like that in the West out here. East Coast is very different. I would feel much more comfortable having a 300-mile range, on the East Coast, because worst case scenario, I have to stop in, a town halfway to my destination. But those places out West, I mean, there's some stretches that are a little scary.
We have them in Eastern Oregon as well.
Do you?
There's a triangle of Eastern Oregon, Central Eastern Oregon, Western Idaho, around Hell's Canyon, and Northern Nevada, where you basically from Interstate 80 to Interstate 84, there's nothing.
Right.
And from Interstate 84 up to Interstate 90, up across the northern panhandle of Idaho, there's no DCFC. There's no level 3 charging. And honestly, I think it'll fill in. Pardon me.
Well, plus there's the Tesla announcement that might play into this.
I gathered from what they said that they have their plan to move forward, and if Tesla provides us with some other options in order for them to take advantage of some federal subsidies, pardon me, all the better. But I don't think RJ and Rivian are waiting on Tesla to carry that load. I think they truly have that desire to get the entire RAN.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
And RJ mentioned just the complexity of it, that some people think, well, let's just put one here. When he said you've got so much in the way of permits, and the electrical draw that they take is special. So you've got a lot of infrastructure, excuse me, and a lot of capital outlay to make this work.
Right.
And it's not an inexpensive proposition. Once they start to fill in, the range anxiety is going to start to, I won't say melt away, because people still have range anxiety in the West with gas stations in some spots.
Yeah.
You do see that sign that says no services next 120 miles. They're here.
They're for real.
They are.
And it's not messing around, because there aren't any services
Correct.
for 120.
Correct. But I'm not worried about the 300 over the 400. It'd be nice, yes, to have it, but the expense, the extra weight, I'm so in love with the Launch Edition. I love it just the way it is. I'm looking forward to it, but I understand why some people won't be happy with 400 miles.
So as you can see, Bruce is all in with the 300-mile Launch Edition battery pack. I'm still thinking, although he makes some good points, but we still don't know how long until the 400-mile range is available. At this point, I'll take what comes first. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking. Thanks for watching, and thank you especially to Bruce for his time and expertise. Still more to come from this interview, so stay tuned.